I'll admit the title of today's video is a little clickbaity as nobody put a pew pew to my head and forced me to buy this Ferrari. But I really did have to buy this Ferrari for a very good reason, and there was a little surprise gunplay involved during the transaction. More on that in a bit, but say hello to my beautiful 2002 Ferrari 360 Spider, which I purchased to compete in a challenge with Ed Bolian from VinWiki, as well as Freddie Tavares Hernandez. And I'm not known to be the guy that makes strong purchase decisions. I make really bad purchase decisions, but in a competitive setting, I play to win, or I go down in a blaze of glory, and this Ferrari is the perfect choice for that. A few months ago, Freddie and Ed came up with the idea of doing a challenge, buying a cheap exotic car for less than a C8 Corvette, and for some reason they invited me, the village idiot of automotive YouTubers, along for the ride. Once they secured Auto Tempest as our major sponsor, they hired a professional film crew and told me to buy a car right away. So using Auto Tempest, I found this Ferrari 360, and it was the obvious choice for this challenge. Now, I'm not going to give away all my reasons because that's all in the video that's going to be on Tavares' channel next week, so be sure to subscribe to Tavares if you aren't already, because that's where this 8-episode special is going to air. But I can't thank Auto Tempest enough for sponsoring this adventure coming up next week, as well as today's video. It's a site that I use on an almost daily basis as it consolidates the search process across all the big car sale websites, allowing you to hit one search button on Auto Tempest and see listings from all the top sites at once, plus other places you might have not thought to check. You can even compare results from Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. What I really like about Auto Tempest is it really lets your searches get very specific with their advanced toolbar, which recently got even more specific with search filters such as diesel fuel type for a Ford Excursion, or a gated manual for a Lamborghini Gallardo, or a yellow colored Ferrari, all cars that we are going to talk about today that I own. Before I discovered Auto Tempest, I was forced to put the same search parameters in over and over again across different sites. So if you're searching for something very specific, Auto Tempest will save you a lot of time. It's also very easy. You can get started searching for free and support me and my generous sponsor by trying out Auto Tempest, link below. I really can't wait for you to see this video that I made with Ed and Freddie coming out next Monday on Tavares' channel, and I really don't want to give away too much with this car, but I will tell you about is the process of buying it. After I found this car on Auto Tempest, which it was perfect for a number of reasons, both good and bad, I reached out to the seller to get some more details. And he had told me the owner bought this car last year for him to use personally, but then he didn't end up using it much and decided to sell it. He also told me that it was a bank car that was repossessed and that they spent almost $5,000 fixing it after they bought it not running. Now, some of that was kind of true, some of it wasn't, because I did my own detective work and found this car sold, indeed non-running, at a CarMax auction for $45,000. So somebody actually sold a Ferrari 360 to CarMax, and they bought it at auction in California from CarMax, and then they shipped it back to them in Texas, and they did proceed to spend $5,000 on it. It didn't take very much to get it going, really get it running and driving. It was just a clutch calibration, but there were a lot of other odds and ends that they needed to fix in order to possibly be able to retail this to somebody. In addition to a lot of electrical things, both door handles, inner and outer, wouldn't open, so you couldn't even get into the car at all. Ignore the loose trim pieces. That all happened in the last week, and other electrical things that they had to fix. So after some back and forth with the seller, they did sell it to me for bleep amount. I'm not going to tell you that. You have to watch Tavares' video to find out how much I spent on this thing, but they did make somewhat of a profit, and then they offered to deliver it to me. They were in Dallas, Texas. They were coming up to Kansas City for an auction, so they brought it up to me in person. Now, there were some issues that I knew about going into this purchase, like the top. For some reason, somebody had glued this part, even though it's supposed to split apart. It looked really bad. The top was weathered. Also, no idea if the timing belt had been done ever, which is kind of scary because you're supposed to do the timing belt on these things every 5 to 7 years. But it's not like my Ferrari 348 where the engine has to come out to do the timing belt. You can do it from inside the cabin. But anyway, he delivered this car to me in the middle of the night at the local casino where he happened to be stopping for the evening, and he unloaded it from his trailer and he banged the front nose of the Ferrari on his trailer because the ramps were too shallow, but whatever. Gave me the keys. Everything was fine. The car looked beautiful. But then as I started to drive off, he started yelling, hollering, stop, 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 stop. And we stopped, rolled down the passenger window. My friend Rob was with me in the car, and he just reached in totally nonchalantly, opened the glove box, and pulled out a pew-pew thing, a revolver. and just said, oh, the owner left this in here. He was driving around with it, thought he needed it for safety. Just grabbed it, pulled it on us, then went on his merry way. He didn't tell us that there was a gun in there and asked us to grab it. He just reached in and grabbed it without saying everything. So there's a moment of terrifying, thoughts, and then it was over, and I had this Ferrari. The next terrifying thought was the timing belt, because I called around a bunch of dealers that serviced this car. One was in Hawaii. This car spent a long time in Hawaii, and none of them had record of a timing belt service. So I got it up to the car wizard immediately to get this timing belt done, because I was going to ship this thing to Florida for our 8-day challenge. We're going to drive over 1,000 miles, and I didn't want to do that on a timing belt that was ancient. And thank goodness I did, because when the car wizard took off the timing belt, he looked at the date code, and it was from 2001 or something like that. So either Ferrari is very, very crazy about their service intervals being that quick just to make some money, or this is the luckiest Ferrari on earth for not throwing its timing belts. But anyway, the timing belt got on the car, it made it to Florida, and then you'll find out everything else that happened next week. But it is an amazing adventure we went on. It was a series of challenges that no Ferrari 360 has probably ever been through in such a short period of time. And we squeezed it in just barely in the nick of time. We made it to the Amelia Island Concours. And if all this was going on just a week later, the whole world would have been canceled. I mean, everything's going crazy right now. So we are so lucky that we got this all shot. We got everything done. And then none of us had babies that popped out. But the situation with the world right now has affected me with a few other vehicles, which I shall talk about right now, starting with my Lamborghini Gallardo, which I need to get it out of timeout. It's nosed in. So I'll put this out and then bring this out and we'll talk some more. So this is my 2004 Lamborghini Gallardo with the coveted 6-speed manual transmission, unlike the flappy paddle F1 that I just pulled outside. So this is a much more desirable car because of that gated manual transmission. And I bought it about a year ago thinking, well, I need to treat myself to a nice car that I've always wanted, but also it's a pretty stable investment. I imagine this car, for what I paid for it, around $110,000. There was some trading going on, so I'm not sure the exact amount. But it was a good enough deal to where I didn't think I was going to lose money if I wanted to sell it. And it's a car, since they don't make gated manual supercars anymore, that would likely appreciate in value. So here I am with my mountain of hoopties around me thinking, oh boy, am I smart versus people who put their money in the stock market right now. Look at me. But then I decided to check with the people who sold me this Lamborghini what they would take on trade towards a Ferrari FF. Now, for those not familiar, the Ferrari FF is, well, it's kind of a mixed bag. I personally love them, but a lot of people think that it's kind of ugly. It's a weird shooting brake, kind of clown shoe shaped hatchback. But it does have a V12 in Ferrari's latest dual clutch gearbox, so it's like a 3.5 second 0 to 60. But most important to me, my wife is due with a baby any day. She's going to induce on Friday if the baby doesn't come beforehand. So it's a great car because it has a full-size back seat. And not only that, but this example that I was looking at Ferrari of Denver had rear entertainment, so TVs in the headrest. So it's the perfect fun family car, and since I had just purchased a Murcielago Roadster, I thought, well, maybe I don't need 2 Lambos. I'm not Stradman, so let's see if they would do a trade. Now, retail, I thought these cars were worth about the same, probably $110,000 to $120,000. So I knew they were going to need to make a little money on the end. So I was expecting, you know, a $20,000 or $30,000 difference, and then we would negotiate to maybe a $10,000 or $15,000 difference. Well, that didn't happen. I got quite the email back. Now, keep in mind, these people sold it to me a year ago for $110,000. Tyler, you're not going to like me, but don't kill the messenger. That's never a good way to start an email. Amid the current economic climate, I think he meant climate, and everything else going on, there doesn't seem to be a huge desire for the Gallardo right now. My GM asked me to get a wholesale bid on the Gallardo because he isn't interested in keeping it in inventory right now. So I contacted a couple of my wholesale sources, and $65,000 was the highest bid I received. $65,000. $65,000. I know that's probably not the number you were hoping to hear, I'm happy to keep working on a deal and get the best difference I can on the FF. We'll get as aggressive as we can during all this. Still need to keep doing business. Let me know your thoughts. Well, my thoughts are this is a very desirable car. It's a gated manual Gallardo, and the Ferrari FF is about the least desirable Ferrari ever built in the last 10 years. So if this car is worth 50% less than it was a week ago due to the economic climate, well, then that Ferrari FF is probably worth 50% less as well. So we're probably still in the same ballpark. Obviously, the general manager of that store is not going to go for that deal, but neither am I on this car. So yeah. Ed bought a flood car gated manual Gallardo for $59,000 and then put $12,000 into it. A gated manual flood car, a really badly flooded car, and according to him, my 5,000 mile pristine example is worth less than that. It's just absolutely absurd. So now I'm changing gears. I'm going to get a much more reasonable car that's kind of fun and fast for me to drive around my family in, even though I do have plenty of Ford or sedan choices. But I do think there's one car that I bought that is perfect for this apocalypse that we're having right now. It's probably worth dramatically more than what I paid for it for numerous reasons. It's sitting outside right now, and I think we should go take it for a ride, and I'll demonstrate how it is the perfect machine for today's times. It really is. This is my 2001 Ford Excursion, and when this truck was built, it was the largest American SUV ever made for consumer use. And it's still the largest SUV ever to be built. It's something like 19.5 feet long. But one thing that I've noticed is if I pull down the second row, if you do measuring here, the distance between me and the third row, where the person's head is, we're right there now, that is 6 feet. 6 feet. So I can have passengers in here and keep them at a safe recommended distance. Additionally, if I remove that third row seat and keep the second row folded down, that means I have 150 cubic feet of cargo capacity. And let's say that a case of toilet paper is about 3 cubic feet. So what is that? About 12 rolls per 3 cubic feet. 150 feet divided by 3 times 12 rolls of toilet paper. That is 600 rolls of toilet paper that I can keep in this thing. 600 rolls, which seems to be the future currency in this world. So I am feeling really good about this purchase, but I don't want to make too many jokes about the current situation. A lot of people are out of work. This is a very difficult time, so I feel for all of you that are struggling, stuck at home. I'm going to stay home as much as I can, keep making videos to keep you entertained, pop up to the Car Wizard as well. We'll do some stuff up there, but otherwise, I'm going to be home a lot. My wife is due with her baby any day. My daughter is going to be home for the rest of the year, but I'll keep making videos. So you all stay safe out there, and be sure to tune in next week. We'll have 8 videos on Tavares' channel, something to keep you very entertained. Thank you for watching.